So, good evening, guys and girls, and welcome to the WoT Pro League Season 3 Match Day 10. We thought, you know what? How to get this one really going. Let's show you every single player and team in that top 3 today. We'll be seeing not only Team Dignitas, we'll be seeing WoT Pro and DeNova. Every single one at the very top of the rankings so far. Today's games are going to be incredible. Tell your friends about it because I'm super excited. How are you feeling about this one?
I'm unbelievably excited. Literally, as you said, that every single good team, all like the teams of Season 1, all the teams of Season 2, this one's going to be an absolute cracker.
It's going to be amazing. And these guys have got some interesting results. I think we can go into detail about that in a little bit of time. But not only do I have my lovely co-caster, Laughter WOT, obviously we have our social media guru waiting in the wings, the one and only Melly, who will be able to get you guys involved and kind of give you an idea how you guys can get some bonus codes and get some goodies beside you because, well, that's not a bad thing, really, is it?
Not at all.
Everyone likes a bit of that. So anyway, with that in mind, you know the team that you'll be watching today, but let's have a look at the season so far so you can see the rankings and why exactly today's games are going to be incredible. So top 3, as we mentioned, it will be Dignitas against DeNova. So first against third, then following that will be WoT Pro against Krasnokru. So second against, I believe, they're 6th currently. So pretty insane games. I think that we don't need to tell them the caliber and obviously the magnitude of this to each and every team. These guys play week in, week out. They train together, and we'll mention that a little bit later in the heads-to-heads. But what jumps out to you about this league so far? Because at the moment, there's some teams really shining and some kind of fading away a bit here.
What's kind of strange is that, well, we're now 10 match days in, and finally we see the 2 Russian teams at the top. In the other 2 seasons, it's been straight away, you know, WoT Pro or Team Dignitas at the top. But now they're not there. Well, they just got there even. So 7-1 for Team Dignitas and 6-2 for WoT Pro. So they've only just got there. And then below them, DeNova, which is not surprising for me, but I guess it's surprising to some of you. They've just been improving, and they've, you know, some of their team members have been telling me how they've been training against the likes of Team Dignitas, WoT Pro, and the Russian teams as well. So they've got a lot of training under their belt, and they just keep on improving. I love to see it. And obviously we got Oda Mortis, who were in first for a considerable amount of time, but sitting in 4th, which is nothing to be shy of. I mean, they're doing pretty well, 4-3. So the league so far is looking interesting, and I think it's just developing. Like finally, in match day 10, are we actually seeing, you know, where we could be going towards the middle season and towards the, you know, the second, third. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how that continues to develop.
Yeah, certainly. And the thing to point out, guys, make sure you go out there and check it yourselves on the WOTProLeague.com site. The fact is the points are so close at the moment. Dignitas are fairly clear at the top on 21 currently, but just below that, WoT Pro are on 18, DeNova on 16. So these guys aren't miles ahead. They've just finally got there, as you mentioned. It's not like it's been, you know, a one kind of pony race. It's been a real mixed bag so far. So make sure you check that out. It's well worth a look, and you might get a little bit of a hint as to how you might want to get your predictions going as well, because obviously if you predict it right, you get some bonus codes. So let's introduce the lovely lady who will explain that to you guys and obviously explain how you guys can get those awesome codes into your hands. So guys, let's put you over towards Melly. How are we doing?
Thank you, Pansy. I'm doing great. Or nothing?
I don't think so.
The mics are not liking working at the moment, apparently.
No.
We don't know what's going on there.
Maybe we get Melly in your seat instead, or we can replace her. Or
are you just going to try and replace? Why are you here?
Someone explain what's going to go on.
Alrighty. So while we fix the mics, we can kind of explain to you what Melly can do a lot better than I can. Basically, Twitter and Facebook are the ways forward. We'll bring her back in once we fix those mics and get it sorted out, because we can't leave her on her own. She'll get scared and nervous. She's like a kind of crazy animal if you put her there, but you know, she'll just start lashing out and going wild. But all right, so social media aside, we'll come back to that. The best way we can help you out here is by giving you an insight to how you can get your votes going and what sort of players you'll be putting your bets towards. So obviously, Team Dignitas up against DeNova. It'll be the first game of the day. And well, Dignitas, you got to know these guys by now. DeNova, you might be kind of warming up to and starting to know the lineups. But take us through this in detail now.
So Team Dignitas, your Season 1 winners of the WoT Pro League, didn't turn up at Season 2. Otherwise, you know, I think if they did, it would have been very interesting indeed, and they would have gone on to fight on WoT Pro, I think. You know, Evil Panel Squad managed to fight them, though, and they came second. But you should know these players by now. We got Steel Stalker, who's a team captain. Shanish plays at T69 so well. I really do love him. Artclip from Red Rush Unity, one of their old players. We got Angel Killer from the Red Rush, was actually their main artillery player for a long time alongside Eclipse. And I think really the best, if not in the top 3 player full stop in the world Applewell. I honestly do think he's up there with, Strake, Power Slide, new multi-show. We got Hyber in there, Uncro, all those amazing players. He's up there.
We saw him coming into that last time we watched Dignitas as well. He made some really pivotal plays.
That insane play on Abby. That was insane. 2 versus 1, and he actually managed to do it. 3 versus 1, actually.
Indeed.
Two AMX 3090s and a T1 left in the base. That was incredible. And then on the other side, we've got a few good players as well. And I think we're just going to continue seeing how much they're improving. Obviously, we've got Ronnie, the team captain. We've got YR, who's been a long-term member and such a good AMX 3090 player. So all-star lineups on both teams, equally capable of beating each other on any given day. So I think this one's going to be ultra close.
It is. So quickly, where's your money going to be for this one? I know,
My
because it's your favourites against the
it's always
top
hard.
of the league.
I would say on paper, Team Dignitas, but I think DeNova have been getting the training in so much. I would start leaning towards them, but I think it's going to be a 3-2 either way.
So he's not really calling it either way, but the smart bet would be Team Dignitas, but your heart might be telling you DeNova. So there's our insight towards it. I think I'm going to go for Team Dignitas myself. I'm going to play it safe today. But let's introduce you back towards Melly. Hopefully everything's working this time. If it's not, we're just going to, I don't know, dub it, and we'll try and do what I can. But we'll put you back over there to get you introduced how you guys can get involved in the social media routes.
Is it working?
I don't know. I don't dare to speak, but I think you can hear me perfect. I'm so excited. I think there are some sick matches coming up, as you already said, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I want to hear what you have to say, what you're thinking about those matchups. So head over to social media platforms on facebook.com/WoT Pro League and, of course, on Twitter, and tell me what's on your mind. Give me hand in your predictions, your opinions, whatever. If you liked one player much because of great actions in the past games, just tell me, and I want to hear what you have on your mind. And of course, I will reward those thoughts. We will be giving out three bonus codes to the tweets of the day. That's kind of a tongue breaker. I can't talk today. I'm so sorry. But yeah, head over to Twitter, tweet what's on your mind, and with a bit of luck, you might get one of those bonus codes. So the next chance is our challenge on Facebook. As some of you already know, I will put up a vote where you can hand in your predictions towards your favorite team. And below this vote, you can comment. And by commenting on the outcome of the match, and you can win bonus codes as well by predicting the exact right outcome of that matchup. And I've totally lost mine. But I guess you go what I meant. Head over to Twitter, follow us, head over to Facebook, like us, and stay on track. Even if you're not able to watch the stream, I will keep you updated. I will hand in the results and everything. So it's definitely a good thing. And got loads of free stuff.
There you go. Free stuff is clearly the way forward. But even if we aren't quite on our game, I assure you the games today will be brilliant. There's no two ways about it. We have literally the top 3. So, you know, there's no way we can get away from the fact that these guys are so talented. Last time we got treated to, I think it was WoT Pro against Dignitas the last time we really watched these, and that was something to look back on. If you do want to watch those VODs, obviously go over to the WoTProLeague.com site, check out the replays, they're all up there, and it's well worth watching to get your kind of head around how these guys are playing at the moment, because they are just so far ahead of the usual leagues you kind of see playing out. They're phenomenal head-to-head. I do believe they're almost ready to get tank picking. Hopefully that doesn't take too long. But we can talk towards the thoughts of DeNova here and how they can kind of overcome Dignitas, because Dignitas looks so damn good against WoT Pro. They made WoT Pro look weak, which is rare. That never happens. So how are DeNova going to fare? You said they've been practicing, but will you be able to just overcome that raw skill of Dignitas with practice?
I think so, but I think the main problem with DeNova is not the fact that they don't have the skill or the synergy or the tactics and not the leadership. I think the main problem is that they don't try hard.
Okay.
Like with DeNova, sometimes you just get the feeling that, okay, they have this raw skill and just talent, but they're not trying hard against the team. And if they just went that step forwards and just tried, then they would be able to get the win. So honestly, I think that's going to be the main factor here. You know, if you're getting to the third or fourth game and they start to lose confidence after, you know, going 2-0 down and it just goes horribly wrong, then that's going to be really bad to see. But as long as they just keep going forwards, you know, they get that momentum off the first win, if they do get it, then it's going to be all right. I think they can do well.
Yeah, okay, so I think they're both ready to get those tank picks underway. Let's jump into that screen right now so you guys do not miss any of the action. First map will be Himmelsdorf. Now, while they kind of set up and they think about those initial picks, let's kind of talk about whose performance stands out to you on this map out of these two teams. Dignitas is classic at this map. We've seen Applewell really coming into his own, and a good couple of others really shining here. But do you think DeNova can keep up to that?
I think so. I really think DeNova is one of the best teams on Himmelsdorf. They, as I always say, they're one of the teams that's really come out of Himmelsdorf. This was the map they ended up playing a lot against the top teams in Go Fours every Sunday, and they kept on getting beaten down, but they kept on getting back up again. So honestly, I think they have a real chance against Team Dignitas, and I honestly think if they're going to win anything, you know, if they got to win this one, this is like their safe map. They got to get the safe ones in the bag and try as best they can and hope that they can get the ones they're not confident on. You know, I don't think DeNova is so good on Prokhorovka. Maybe Abbey they struggle on a little bit against Team Dignitas.
Right.
But Himmelsdorf, I think, is a safe bet.
So this should be their starting point almost, their
Sure.
building blocks. They need to get those foundations in, get that first one under their belt. Do you think Dignitas are aware of that and they're going to be preparing for it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. They have to be. They have to watch through the replays of DeNova, look through the previous results, seeing how consistent they are. I've only really seen them lose once, and that was at Gamescom. So, and they actually, I think they won against WoT Pro on this map. So they got the results in. I think Team Dignitas are definitely going to be a little bit scared about that, a little bit wary, and have to prepare. I mean, 7-1 at the moment in the league, so they're doing pretty well, sitting at the top. But if they go one down and WoT Pro wins today, then it's all even. So
That's very true.
You know, you want to be sitting in those top two spots anyway, because the top two get put into the second day of the playoffs anyway, so at the offline event. So you want to be in those two spots, and that's certainly what Team Dignitas are going to be looking towards as they progress through the season. They don't want to be dropping wins, and DeNova is one of those teams which they know can definitely beat them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the threat here. DeNova are a side that is well aware, you know, of their own current position, but they are also so dangerous, and that's one thing I really like about them. I feel as though Kaznakru has a little bit of an essence of that sometimes. Oda Mortis this season specifically really showed that they can be a team to compete. Mousesports, hell, they were the ones to topple WoT Pro initially. There's a lot of teams that can cause trouble, but DeNova has the consistency to pick up the games they should against the lower tier players, let's say in lower tier teams, so they keep the wins building, but they can also challenge the very top, whereas some teams seem to have that issue of not being able to kind of keep that consistent victories up, and they just drop silly matches.
Yeah.
Hopefully DeNova don't get into that kind of slump. I don't think there'll be a team to do that, though.
I hope not. I really do. I think, like Kaznakru, for instance, the last match they lost against Lanska Fantasia, which theoretically they shouldn't lose against.
Yes.
It's not a team that is particularly experienced. This is their first season, and Kaznakru have been here all the time, and they took third place at Gamescom, so they shouldn't lose that. And that's certainly what these two teams are going to be thinking. They've got to get the results against the hard teams so they can make the easy teams, the easier teams even. All these teams are hard, but the ones that, you know, they're more experienced against, they got to make those wins, you know, count at the end of the day.
Exactly. So looking towards this one, do you think we're going to see any new picks coming out here on Himmelsdorf? Because it's a map that we haven't seen really touched by the kind of brush that's been going around of, you know, any of the new tanks. The OBJ is not really going to have any position here. The Pershing, possible, but a bit of a rarity. Do you think either of these teams might dabble into that at all?
They could do. They really could. Like, I often think that it's the tank picks are more to do with trends than anything else. Like, there's not really any disadvantage to taking, let's say, an AMX 5100 compared to a T69. The penetration comes into effect, but like, it's so situational. Like, a T69 could be really good in one particular match and awful in another one, and the same with the 5100.
Right.
And you know, 8.9 is now coming out on test servers tomorrow. It was supposed to come today, but it was delayed.
Is that with the esports patch in it?
That is with the esports patch, indeed.
Wow. That's going to be a big step here as well. You've got to mention that. Obviously, Wargaming are kind of involving esports slowly but surely. And obviously, we're seeing it in the tournaments, but it's nice to see the game kind of including that. And I can't wait to see how that comes into effect. And a lot of these teams will at least be able to kind of challenge others as well. Let's say a good group of friends will be able to play the esports and go, oh, okay, we're quite good at this. Let's now try our hand through the different leagues. And it's really good to see it coming naturally through the game, not just, you know, companies like ESL, you know, putting on Go 4s and naturally trying to encourage it like that. So I'm hoping that we'll see a couple of new faces appear. Now, obviously, there won't be Team Dignitas off the bat, but it always really good to see that kind of coming into play.
Well, people who don't really want to play tournaments in ESL or for whatever reason or whatever tournaments outside of the game, they have the opportunity to play in-game. And I think that's always been the big problem with World of Tanks. Like, players generally can't play the tournament esports format, you know, without playing it in an actual tournament organized by Wargaming, ESL, whoever. So if they actually have the client in game, they can play it in game. They realize how much fun it is, how much skill it improves. You know, the strategy, the thinking, everything about it is just fantastic. And obviously, alongside it, I think in a couple of weeks' time, when people have a chance to get used to the mode, there'll actually be an esports rating coming out.
That would be brilliant.
And that esports rating will basically say, okay, this team is won X amount of battles in these 2 weeks, which the esports rating hasn't been out. So let's put them there, so they're fighting teams against their own caliber. So the newer teams, they're not going to get steamrolled by like Team Dignitas. Na'Vi coming in against them. The newer teams will have a chance to build themselves up. You have an esports rating on your profile, so you can see how well you've been doing, and other people can see how well you've been doing. So Wargaming, unbelievably stepping up in this patch,
and
it's going to continue. They can continue improving, continue adding esports thing, and I think it's not just good for esports; it's just good for the game generally.
Oh, exactly, because players of any kind can now kind of understand what they're watching, because it's all very good and well enjoying the hype that we try and bring, and you know, enjoying just single moments. But when you get try your own hand, you're like, wow, it's not just, you know, the actual kills that matter; it's everything else that's included, like the setups, the tactics, and they can kind of understand it and appreciate the game in such a different way. And you learn so many things from watching this. Hell, the amount of positions I've taken out of esports games, gone into the publics and gone, okay, let me try this in a bit of a random battle, and it's paid off. Now, obviously, we're going to be seeing the very best giving us a display of that today, and I think they're going to get those picks underway. Yeah,
they just started tank picking. Team Dignitas will be starting the proceedings with the double T1. DeNova picking the T1 and the AMX 5100. So obviously, Team Dignitas giving away the chase straight away, saying that it's going to take 5 tier 8s, but that's not really anything surprising on Himmelsdorf. DeNova playing it a little bit more cleverly with that 5100 and the T1, which could possibly give them the opportunity to take something below a tier 8, let's say a tier 7, like a T71, etc., etc. So those are our 2 picks to start us off with. We're expecting the triple AMX 5100 double IS3, or the other variation, the triple IS3 double AMX 5100, and obviously those 2 T1s in there as well. So one of those 2, maybe a 110, although DeNova definitely have started shying away from that, even on Ensk, where they actually introduced it. T69, it's definitely not used. It was obviously one of the main tanks on this map, as it was played so heavily on that hill. But now the hill's more used as a kind of way into the base, as opposed to kind of just a sparring match like it used to be. But double 5100 is coming out from Team Dignitas as well, and the 5100 and the T1 for DeNova, making it 2 5100s, 2 T1s for DeNova, and 2 5100s, 2 T1s for Dignitas as well. So both teams mirroring so far. And 2 IS3s now coming out from Team Dignitas, really opting for that tier 8 Russian heavy tank like we see many teams do. And I think what's really interesting about the IS3 is just the fact that people don't like it in the general game, but they just don't realize how strong it is. Like, the side of the tank is almost stronger than the front of the tank, and the front of the tank is insanely strong as it is. So it can bounce, it can do a lot of damage. It's pretty fast, especially on concrete, where you know, weight to power ratio doesn't really come into effect as much. The 5100 is going to be the next pick, and the double IS3 from DeNova. Last pick for Dignitas is going to be the 5100. Last pick from DeNova is also going to be that 5100. So both teams going for the double IS3, triple 5100 lineup here. So making things all even, none going for that triple IS3 like we often see. It's like 60-40, 60% of the teams pick the triple IS3 double 5100, 40% picks the triple 5100 double IS3. But I guess that comes down to, you know, the teams they're facing as well.
Now, you initially said DeNova on here. Are you sticking with that one with the tank picks in mind?
I have to do, yeah.
Okay.
I think they will.
Yeah. See, I'm going to go for Dignitas. I think it's very hard for me to ever bet against them. The play that they pulled out last time I watched them.
Safe bets, man.
I know.
Safe bets.
I'm basically sitting on the safest fence in the world. But yeah, I think
it's
Dignitas
like betting that Spain's going to win the World Cup. It's like,
wow.
It's like, who?
Am I really being that boring?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, jeez. Now I'm awful about it. But no, I really like the way Dignitas played. They showed how great they were, especially with the use of those T1s. Last time we watched them on Himmelsdorf against Virtus. Had some great initiative, really ran with it. And I'm looking to see that again here. I'm not sure what they're going to go for. they're not the most aggressive of teams, but they're not passive either. They have that nice balance coming out. So I think we're just going to see how this one unfolds, and I can't wait to see it. But who's your standout player from both teams on this map?
Oh, wow. Bad News always plays the IS-3 well, so I think he's going to be really instrumental. But there's no... And on the side of Dignitas, I guess Garat, those two are really like the heavy tank players, full stop. So those two, but there's not really a standout player. These are all fantastic players.
Very true. We'll have to keep eyes on those, see how they really come into this one. I can't wait to see if one man really steps up. Last time, it was Applewell, but as you said, Garat just as capable. And obviously, Bad News as well in that IS-3 can be so, so pivotal. And we're going to see if he can do it this time, maybe on Banana. Who knows where they're going to play? We've some different tactics coming out. So guys, let's get you ready for that introduction video towards Himmelsdorf.
Himmelsdorf is a city maps of city maps. It's a small one, being 600 by 600 meters. There are 3 routes of attack: the hill, the banana, and the train side. The middle area is relatively easy to push, however can end up in disaster as you can be flanked from every side. The road, often called banana, allows for direct head-on assaults but requires a lot of resources. Both the railroad area and the road next to it are good routes of attack, being very open and straight. However, for those very same reasons, you can be easily caught out and taken down. The map features many densely housed areas, which provides good places for engagements and routes of attack. Teams must be aware of the various routes their opponents can take through the map, as well as the hull-down positions enemies can take throughout the entire map. The trick with Himmelsdorf is to catch an enemy tank unsupported by his teammates and then use that advantage to collapse on the entire enemy team.
All right, guys, so welcome into the first map. As Joe said, it's going to be Himmelsdorf, and in that golden yellow in the north, it's DeNova facing off against Dignitas in the south in blue. What are we seeing so far?
So as per usual, Stalker going towards the left, and they leaving one IS-3 to stand in the middle to really protect over that area. But pretty unusually, I guess, the rest of the firepower from Team Dignitas are just pushing straight towards that hill, the castle area. You've got Shanish, Applewell, Angel Killer, Arklit, and then finally Povel. So a T1 and an IS-3 and then 3 AMX-5100. That's pretty much all the firepower. And strangely enough, again, we got DeNova doing almost exactly the same. So if we're going to see a proper firefight, we might see it within the first 2 minutes of the game. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time for the tanks to travel up this hill. But honestly, the gun depression on the MX-5100 is not going to really be able to deal with the situation. The IS-3 is even worse. So any kind of firefight has to happen on the plateau. They can't, drive down the hill, get into a firefight, can't drive back up the hill. It's going to become a real problem. First spot coming out as well. Ron going forwards. That is a really good position for DeNova straight away. Shanish especially not being able to finish off Ron, and Ron also struggling to kill Shanish. So straight away, Team Dignitas are kind of thrown off their limbo a little bit. They wanted to go forwards, they wanted to go backwards, now they're deciding to push forwards. So at this point in time, DeNova definitely have the positional advantage.
It's just if they can put it to use for me, it's going to come down to that execution, that little bit of aim. Right now, Arklit has spotted the entirety of the DeNova side, but little do they expect Angel Killer to be there. He's already down, though, to 1063. He did get the connection onto Bad News, but not as great deal of damage being dealt, so they can back away, play it a little bit tentatively. Arklit just circling above, but you are seeing the split off going around the side. YR taking down Shanish in that little T1, but those 4 massive tanks for DeNova, they're playing it passively here.
Yeah, definitely have to sit back. I mean, Shanish just went in basically to soak a shell from YR, so that 5100 will now, as you can see, be down to 5 shells, which will give a small advantage, but a significant advantage to Team Dignitas if they do decide to push. Stalker now taking out MSDNT. So both teams losing, well, DeNova losing 2 T1s now, but both teams losing a T1, which obviously on Himmelsdorf is pretty much one of the most important tanks, if not the most. So anything Team Dignitas want to do now, they're going to be able to do at the same time as capping. So they don't really have to win the firefight.
Well, it seems though DeNova are just going to go straight head first in towards Povel. He's down to 712, but look at the connections. It did allow Phoenix to go down fairly low. They're going to be running straight into the crossfire. There's the rest of Team Dignitas, Angel and Arklit just laying down the fire, but there is a reply. DeNova not falling yet. Phoenix going down low, 474. YR is on 14 HP. He is eliminated by Arklit, and now the rest of the tanks are in trouble. Phoenix down low, sorry, excuse me, 183 left towards him. Rest in peace, being the next target. Dignitas, in the meantime, have split off that T1. They've got the cap underway. They have their hands wrapped around this one. Arclet is pushing straight forward, looking towards Phoenix to deal that killing blow. Not going to get it as he does just about back away. Winnie the Pooh on his heels, does get a great shot coming out there, and Arclet missed it. He needed that one. That has allowed Bad News to get one round. But still, Applewell does the damage towards Phoenix. He does not get away unscathed. And now just Bad News and Winnie the Pooh need to somehow get back in time and take down so many members of Team Dignitas.
Yeah, but they're 2 IS3, so they have plenty of alpha damage to deal with. The very damaged tanks of Applewell and Povell. 1 on 231, that's Applewell. 1 on 292, that is Povell. So Applewell now on the reload. We have about 30 to 35 seconds left on that. Povell sitting pretty much on full reload, so he doesn't have to worry too much. So Garat trying to get the first shot off, doesn't get the connection though. 7 seconds left, but will Bad News get back here in time?
Yeah, this is all about timing. 3 seconds remain. He's not going to be able to spot out that T1. It's pretty much theirs. Team Dignitas have done it again, using those T1s so damn well. DeNova just got completely locked out there. Congratulations, Dignitas. Once again, you answer every single person's question in Twitch chat. One of their T1s, that's why you focus that fire down by the hill. They get the exchange, but all in the meantime, Garat and that one little T1 actually got the victory then.
Yeah, and I think that was bad execution on DeNova's part at the same time. What was kind of strange was the fact that they went forwards in the first place. I think you should never just charge in with all your tanks. I think they should have come around from the side and engaged them from 2 angles, because at the end of the day, they knew they were there. They knew they were behind that castle. They knew they would be waiting for them. So why they pushed around and took so much damage, I have no idea, especially considering they'd already got their 2 T1s killed. So they must have guessed, okay, if we push here, first of all, we're going to lose in the firefight, which they kind of did. It was pretty 50-50.
It was even, but Dignitas got the advantage, I felt.
Yeah, I mean, only reason why DeNova came back in is because they finally got their last IS3 up onto the hill, which obviously 5 versus 4 they would have won.
Yeah.
But yeah, they lost the 2 T1s, which I think, okay, they should never done that. They should always play them more carefully. And then they pushed the last IS3 on the hill, which won them that firefight. But why? Just keep that in defense, just ready for the cap, because they must have been expecting it. I have no idea why they did that.
Surely. There must have been better options to be made, but they certainly weren't making them in that instance. So let's get ready for the next tank picks. Hopefully that will be starting up nice and quickly. I believe it is. So let's not waste any time here. Let's look towards Abby and in the tank pick section. What do you think we're going to be getting in this one, really? I'm not too sure myself, because Abby, there is a bit of allowance for variation.
Yeah, it's the most variable map. There's no single way you can play it. I don't think any team is even close to being able to play it perfectly, just because it's such a complex map and you can play it in infinite amount of ways. There's not really a perfect way to do it. It just depends on what the other team does. That's the most important thing. Just reacting to the other team, getting that information, not wasting shells, not getting yourself hit for no reason. All those things come into play.
Yeah, indeed. So let's see if they can do that. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing in the world. Hopefully, they can get themselves sorted with the mod. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying that as well. Obviously, we do have that mod back up and running. Let us know your feedback towards that. Do like to hear about it. But yeah, obviously, Dignitas picking up that first map. Now, bearing in mind, Himmelsdorf is one of the stronger ones for DeNova. That's their bread and butter. That was meant to be their foundations to build off the back of it, get the confidence there, and then start getting themselves ready to get into the next harder maps in theory. Now, Dignitas, on the other hand, on this map, I'm not sure how they fare. They've always been fairly good at it. I don't think this is their best map in the world, but they're still so strong, and they're so strong on every map. It's just that execution, the way they read the play. You saw it there on Himmelsdorf. They focused down the attack by the, by the castle on the hill, and they had that T1 just waiting with Garat to get towards the flag and immediately put on that pressure.
Yeah, you want to be keeping that pressure on at the end of the day. And if you do have a player like Applewell or let's say Phoenix on DeNova who can just bring out those stunning performances at the end, you can kind of you want reliability at the end of the day. Like they had a really interesting interview with Deluxe, who's the team leader of Na'Vi, who last weekend ended up winning the Golden League, and he said, okay, the reason why I pick my team members is not necessarily because they're the most skillful players in the world, which they are anyway, but he says he can feel like they're reliable. If they're in this situation, they're not going to underperform. They're not going to crack under pressure. They're not going to do something strange. They're going to reliably do their job. They're going to do what he says, and they're going to perform up to par every single day of the week. And that's what you need as a team. And that's what every single team has to strive for. Obviously, Na'Vi is the top of their game at the moment, and they continue being and have been since 2011, formerly known as the Red Rush. But I think Team Dignitas Virtus Pro are also at that level. Every single one of their players is a reliable player. DeNova's got almost all of their players reliable, and that's exactly what you need. You need reliability as players, and you need to have reliable strategies on maps as well.
Yeah, indeed. And it's such a key factor. You know, one-off performances are great, you know, but you need to repeat it every single, you know, match day you get. And obviously, once you get that consistent play, once you get that level that you hit, where you're just always going to be on point to at least a fairly good standard. Don't get me wrong, they're not always going to be hitting, you know, 2.5k damage, but, you know, they always get, you know, what they need to be done. It's simple as that. You know, if they have to, you know, hold this angle, if they have to, you know, make sure they're reading the plays correctly to be able to take the initiative, they do it. That's the thing I love about these teams at the top tier level. It's just the kind of micro adaptations you see coming out. The best one in my eyes was Virtus Pro against Dignitas. Both teams were well aware of each other, and they just made those brilliant plays head to head. And it was literally like, you know, one team pushes, the other team, you know, pushes back a little bit. And it was just such really back and forth play between them. And I think DeNova's not far from that.
No, they're definitely not.
I feel as though they're a little bit narrow-sighted on Himmelsdorf then.
Yeah.
But I think that they focused a little bit too much on that engagement and ignored the fact that there's still that T1 and Garat completely missing.
I think at some point they were just crossing their fingers and hoping that Team Dignitas weren't going to do the obvious.
Yeah.
They're like, let's just try this. Let's really hope that Team Dignitas don't get themselves in the cap, and let's hope it pays off. Obviously, it didn't. Team Dignitas are not a short-sighted team. They're not going to miss a trick.
For sure.
But we can continue tank picking. Both teams are taking an AMX 1390 and a T1. And Team Dignitas took the double T1. So just AMX 1390s T1s is what we're expecting at the beginning. Whether these two teams are going to opt for the 5100, which we've actually seen coming back in, even two 5100s, we'll have to wait and see. I honestly don't think the 416 is going to be good on this map because, you know, obviously the superstructure is in front of the turret, which gives it a bad.
Not ideal.
It gives it a bad. Yeah, it doesn't have the gun depression, all sorts of problems, and you know it can't do corner fighting quite as well. Double AMX 1390 come out from Team Dignitas. We're expecting T69s as well. Obviously, if the other team is not going to pick something like an IS-3 then or a T32, then you can pick the T69 without having to worry about that 50 minus penetration he got in 8.8. So AMX 1390s and T69s are the expected pick. DeNova now picking the T69 and that 5100. So probably starting from the south, as I think the 5100 is the better tank there, as you can kind of get up that hill quicker, get into a better position. And obviously there's that little part here where you can kind of camp with your tanks, and the 5100 will just about have the gun depression to deal with anything that comes around that corner there. What's nice to see though on Abbey is just the fact that the teams have kind of shied away from doing the cheesy tactic from the north, where they just charge down and just go for the cap straight away. And I think that's just because, you know, teams know that it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, it's nice to see the evolution that they go, okay, we could test this one, but actually it'll only work once and it's not good. It doesn't create consistency. It's just that one-off win again. And as you mentioned, it relates back to, you know, the top teams, they don't have to do that. They have the consistency anyway, and they don't need to go to those cheesy strats.
Yeah, it doesn't help yourself as a team, does it, at the end of the day? As you said, that one-off win, what's the point? You're going to have to play Abbey 10s, 20, hundreds of times in the future. Let's just make a good tactic actually improve as a team instead of getting that one-off win here and there. But tank picking has continued. The 5100 and the T69 coming out from DeNova. The 5100 and the T69 also from Team Dignitas. It looks like Arclit is being swapped out for Positive, so he's going to be going up, which is what we'd expect because obviously he's one of the best 5100 players on the server, and he's going to be playing the 5100. So
not too surprising.
Not too surprising. They are speaking Klingon, so it's quite hard to understand.
Yeah, my Russian's not quite up to par, so I'm not even understanding what half those characters are. It's dear God.
Cyrillic, man.
It's kind of crazy. It's like most languages you can kind of understand at least a little bit of it. Russian is like, Joe, we're going to do this just to screw over the rest of the world. So no one can understand what we're saying. And it's... Oh.
Okay. You know, it's just the caster's curse. 416 is coming out from DeNova, so they're ignoring what I said completely.
I don't know if I like that.
I have no idea. I honestly think it's only kind of useful if you're not playing the normal mountain area tactic and you're going to go straight for that trench, because even something like an AMX 1390 it doesn't have the worst gun depression in the world. It has pretty bad, but compared to the 416, it can shoot them the center of the earth. T69 is the last pick from Team Dignitas. So Dignitas going for the standard double T69, double AMX 3090, 5100, triple double T1. While DeNova have just gone for the 416, the 5100, the double AMX 3090, and a T69. So.
See, also, someone in chat was asking about why it's 7v7. And from my opinion alone, the fact is that, let's say, these guys generally will be at offline finals. Can you imagine, like, a 20v20 on a DreamHack stage in Gamescom? Doesn't quite work. Like, 5 is already pretty big, which is in most FPS games. But 7, you need it. I feel it really works in this. Like, you get to see a good kind of variety of gameplays, a lot of strategies, and the maps really suit it, in my eyes as well. You can't really have an esports mode on Abby if it's not, 7v7 in my mind, but also it's that practicality towards the offline finals that you just kind of need to have. Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, they did do 14 versus 14 at Eurosteel. They had 28 people on stage, failed miserably. It was impossible to organize.
Not the ideal way to go, but let's get our eyes back to the game and obviously back to the introduction video of Abby.
Welcome to Abby, a hard but gratifying map to master. Abby is 1,000 by 1,000 meters and has 3 main routes of attack. The left mountainous area, through the Abbey in the middle, or in the trench to the right. The housed Abbey area in the middle, the winding trench road, and the treacherous mountainous area. The Abbey area can be moved upon on a central road. Often the two teams battle it out for the higher ground. The mountainous area often sees intense action as it overlooks the Abbey and provides key access to the enemy's base. The base area can also be accessed via the trench and is a common route of attack. It is essential to defend your base. Teams must pay close attention to their tank setups and in particular how they utilize them to greatest effects on what is a very complicated map.
Alrighty, so welcome to the second map. As Joe said, it's going to be Abby, and in the south, in that lovely blue color, it's Team Dignitas, currently 1 map up to the good, up against DeNova in the north in the golden yellow. What are we seeing so far here?
So standard stuff from Team Dignitas. I think the majority of their firepower over towards the mountain. That's positive Pavel, Shanish, and Applebow. So keeping a T1 in the base to stop any cheesy capping tactics. An Angel Killer to the right with the AMX 3090, with Garat going forwards in that T1. So that is Team Dignitas DeNova. Playing just for that central spot, just because they don't want to have Team Dignitas take the higher ground straight away. But the majority of their firepower is leaning towards that mountain. So in case they do want to go over there, they're going to get there pretty quickly. As you can see, they know that Team Dignitas isn't going towards the middle, isn't going towards the Abbey, so they're going to be going straight towards the mountain now. So let's just see if that's going to pay off, because their 416, I'm still very dubious about that tank. I think, honestly, with so many bumps and jumps and all sorts of things on that mountain area, it's going to be very hard for it to get the shots off it needs.
Yeah, I want to see that come into play. I really do, but I'm kind of there with you. I'm not feeling too confident about its presence on this map, but then again, I'm not a top-tier player. I'm not,
really?
On the same... I know, right? Surprising. But obviously, I'm not of that kind of caliber. Maybe they got something up their sleeve that they can pull out. But as you said, Phoenix here, he seems to go his own position. He seems happy with this, playing a bit more of a defensive role. But we are seeing a little bit of a spot out into that central Abbey section. Rest in peace, just catching a glimpse of the T1 of the opposition. I think it was Stalker, quite possibly. But at the moment, a little bit of a stalemate, but no one really rushing in. There's been fairly cautious play.
Yeah, but we see some movement from Team Dignitas. Shanish pushing forwards, Pavel behind. Apoel obviously keeping an eye on that middle area in case Rest in Peace does have some good ideas and just decides to push in, take out Stalker. And possibly Garat. But obviously, Rest in Peace, one of the star players of WoT Pro in the past. New star, he was actually their team captain. So joining DeNova has probably added a lot to their team. He got some good ideas, got some good tactics, and such a good AMX 3090 player, and that's always important.
And I do believe Winnie the Pooh has just spotted out Shanish there. Winnie the Pooh's playing quite passively in that 5100. Angel Killer did find Ron in the T1, but that's just because, Angel Killer did push up quite some way. So wait on this a little bit of an exchange to go down. These guys are being fairly cautious about each other. They don't want to commit. It's just that kind of T1 exchange right now.
Getting those T1s out pretty quickly. Applewow's trying to go forwards, though. in his AMX 3090, being very careful that he doesn't find that 416 because that tank will be able to do some serious damage. It can have, I think it's 390, it can have that gun on there, or we can just have the normal 250. The reloads obviously are very different.
Yeah, and I've got to say something right there. Stalker has literally done so well with that T1. He's spotted out so much of the opposition. Both tier 1s have gone down because of him. Finally, rest in peace, keeps eyes on, allows Phoenix to take down Stalker. That 416 may be useful, but right now we are seeing Dignitas edging a little bit closer towards the DeNova side.
I'm going to go forwards, rest in peace being spotted. We'll have to see if Apoel actually managed to come round without getting himself completely blown away. He's going to proxy spot. Bad news. That's a 50-meter rule coming into effect, and he will get punished now to 1141. And that was by Shanish in the background. But so much damage here from Team Dignitas. Got 2 T69s, an AMX 5100 and an AMX 1390. So much damage, so much potential, but they're going to push in.
Yeah, bad news is just flying off that hill. He is in trouble. He's down to 102. He's eliminated immediately. Applewell doing what he does best, just smashing the opponent. Rest in peace, backs away. Phoenix goes in. He gets tracked. That tank is not doing the job it had to. 167 left on it. Positive and Applewell, the firing squad of doom, just landing every single shell. Finally, YR comes in. Might get a little bit of return fire coming out from the boys, but it feels as though they're such a disadvantage. Finally, Applewell gets taken low, 94 HP. Witherpoo does the damage, but look at YR going head first into positive. Shanish will lap that one up, take him immediately out of the situation, and now we need to see that 416 doing something special.
It's got to really pull it out here because it hasn't been doing so well, and you can see how much bad news got punished.
Wow.
That Angel Killer does take down Phoenix. It looks like Team Dignitas well in the driving seat, only positive really down to low HP, but you can see Pavel, Angel Killer still plus 1,000. In the T69 EMX 3090. So they got all the room in the world to maneuver. Positive is the only one who really has to get himself back, make sure he doesn't get killed, and Winnie the Pooh's going to get engaged.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh is now sandwiched between Team Dignitas. He is not getting out of there at all. Pavel will claim that one, and another clean sweep for Team Dignitas. I've got to say it, they are looking dangerous in this one, and I love the play of Angel Killer then, splitting all the way down, had that covering fire coming in, that crossfire that just hammered, you know, DeNova down. They didn't expect it. The T69 was positioned to wait to receive that mountain push almost, but Angel Killer being there just negated his position completely.
Yeah, and it was a bad play from Bad News, though. I think he should have got himself out there.
Yeah.
If you're ever, you know, unsure about a move, if you're unsure where the other team is, just get safe. Just keep yourself safe. You know, when he came off the hill trying to take down the AMX 1390, he was in immediately bad trouble. You know, it was bad news for him. He had the AMX 1390 and the AMX 5100 there ready to deal with him, and he was dealt with pretty quickly. And then from there, it was just you know, playing a game of catch up for DeNova. They tried to come back, then they had the AMX 3090 and the 416 go low, and it was just, you know, a game of catch up continuously. Didn't manage to finish off the tanks at the end of the day because they had one tank less, and Team Dignitas played it cool, although, you know, we had Rest in Peace trying to come back into it. He just couldn't do the damage for his team, and I think it was kind of a tall order for him anyway.
Got to say it, 416. It literally took down a T1 and that was about it.
Was that it? I want to see how much damage it did.
I'm not sure how much damage it did. It did eventually come into the little skirmish, but it was
671.
I don't feel as though it's viable on that map.
No, I think honestly, if you take like another 50-100, for instance, then you would have had at least a chance to get back into the game.
Yeah, there'll be a bit of maneuverability, good bit of speed there, damage obviously on your side as well, and I just did not like that 416 in play. I felt as though DeNova set up for something they expected to happen. It did not work that way. Angel Killer completely just obliterated them from afar, and then the rest just engulfed them up. So not the ideal start there for DeNova on the second map, but let's look towards the third. It's going to be Prokhorovka. I think they're ready to get this tank picks underway, so let's go in to have a little look at that. And, well, what do you think we're going to see here? Would you say this is a strong map for either side?
Not particularly. It's not really a map that jumps out for DeNova or Team Dignitas. I think this is honestly a Mal Sports or the WoT Pros map. So I think they've both kind of got a chance. I mean, the only time where I really think of Team Dignitas doing well was when they actually beat WoT Pro on this map on Prokhorovka in the Season 1 finals. But that was just a pure genius move on their part, just completely catching WoT Pro by surprise. So, yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I think Angel Killer is actually playing for Team Dignitas. I think he was actually playing for WoT Pro at the time. Or was that Begamot? One of those two. They're both in Red Rush, so it's kind of it's kind of confusing. But yeah, I think, you know, we can go back to that 416 again. I think that's honestly just typical DeNova. Like, DeNova is the team who just picks strange tanks and see if they work, because I'm not you know, maybe a lot of theory crafting going into it, and they just end up not working at all. I think if one of the things, DeNova has to learn as a team is just to play the consistent lineups, not risk anything. Because, it's not like poker where, you can risk everything on a hand. It's a game of maths, It's no luck involved at the end of the day. Really no luck involved. Okay, RNG comes in, but, if you get a very lucky roll on one damage roll, then there's going to be an unlucky roll somewhere else. So it all evens out at the end of the day. Yeah, so it doesn't really make a difference. But typical DeNova, typical MYM when they were under that flag, typical Red Tide. It's just what they do. Sometimes it works, often it does not. But we're having a little break as I think some of their Team Dignitas players.
I think they're good now. I think they a little bit of a toilet break after the last game. Got a little bit excited. They had to calm themselves down, but I think they are ready now. Stalker's given them the go-ahead. So what do you think of sort of tank picks we're going to be seeing here? Because we've seen some crazy things on Prokhorovka not too long ago. Hell, Odin Mortis, I think it was, at one point brought out like 2 IS-3s, which is almost unheard of, and that was a little bit like, what are you guys doing? I don't think we'll see something like that, but is there a chance of a little bit of a crazy pick coming through here?
Well, I guess there is. There's always a chance. I mean, DeNova definitely don't want to be taking any chances. Now 2-0 down on Himmelsdorf, and then now Abbey. So they definitely want to be getting Prokhorovka under the belt. They don't want to go 3-0 to a team which they can definitely beat. Just a couple of unlucky moves here and there. One mistake by bad news, short-sightedness on Himmelsdorf. They haven't been a million miles off of beating Team Dignitas, so they definitely don't want to be doing anything unusual on Prokhorovka. So double T1 coming out from the Team Dignitas. T1 MX3090 for DeNova, T69 MX3090 for Dignitas, and that T1 and the MX3090 coming out for DeNova. So both teams just getting the typical picks out of the way. That French Tier 8 light tank and obviously the American Tier 8 medium tank as well. If you're really considering it, then the MX3090 is just there for that penetrative power. It's not really there to do the damage. Obviously, it does do the damage. But the T69 is that damage dealer. It's always put in the position where if it needs to, it has a hold down, it has the sniping ability, it can just really unleash that 250 average damage.
Pershing.
Oh, nice little Pershing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm loving the Pershing in play. I'm
really enjoying it. I mean, like Odin Mortis last week against playing Ducks, they took the Pershing on the last 2 maps, Prokhorovka and Mines. They were 2-0 down, took it back to 2-2. That map is that tank is just insane. And they've
made it viable as well. That's what I like to see. They're actually kind of not using it like a elephant in the room or a sore thumb like the 416s. It just fits in so well.
Yeah, it's such a fantastic tank. So yeah, it's good to see. So MX3090 T69 for Team Dignitas and that Pershing as well as the T69 for DeNova, making it quite interesting for DeNova. Obviously, Team Dignitas not going for anything like that. They're going to pick the MX3090 as their last tank. And perhaps DeNova picking the Pershing as their second to last tank will indicate they're going to pick something unusual as their last tank. And indeed they do. It's going to be the Object 416 again, which I think, although suffers from the same problems that I mentioned on Abbey, the gun depression, etc. Not so much on Prokhorovka because it's a much more flat map. But if it does get caught out in a weird situation, a weird position, then it can also come into effect. But I honestly think 416, it's not a bad pick on this map.
What do you think it's going to be playing, though, in practical terms?
It's going to be playing some sort of sniper thing because it's obviously got that really high alpha damage gun, or it's got the lower but faster firing gun. So it's going to be in some sort of sniping position where it can use the high rate of fire, its accuracy, its aim down time. But it can also be used as like an MX3090. An MX3090 paired up with an Object 416, you have the autoloader ability, and you have that just consistent damage from the 416.
So there's some variations we could be seeing here. Certainly something to keep your eyes towards. And do you think that, well, obviously it's a bit of a necessary now. DeNova need this map.
They need it, yeah. They need it.
What do you think they're going to bring out here? What do you think they're going to go for something special? Or do you think they're going to try and play it, to the best of their abilities within the tactics they know? They
need to really just capitalize on any tiny little mistake made by Team Dignitas. Like anything they do wrong, they need to be punishing them. They don't need to be pushing forwards and making the mistakes themselves or letting Team Dignitas get into their defense. They just need to be punishing, with a shot here and there just to slow down Team Dignitas a little bit, stop that momentum, and then pushing forwards once they have the advantage, they have the information, they have the better HP, the better positions, and then they can easily beat Team Dignitas. Because once you throw these Russian teams off their rocker, they're pretty easy to beat.
Yeah, you said that before about WoT Pro. Once you start kind of offsetting the pace and the way they like to kind of dictate the map, you can actually start working them down. So guys, let's get ready for the third and what could possibly be the nail in the coffin for DeNova, Prokhorovka.
Prokhorovka, a large map at 1,000 by 1,000 meters which allows teams to stretch their legs and artillery to test their skills. There are 3 primary routes of attack: over the left tree road, the middle area and towards the town. The tree road is very open and very large number of bushes and trees that provide good cover if you're not shooting. The middle area is where the initial engagements happen as teams gather as much information as they possibly can. Both teams are fairly symmetrical and only offer small hills and brushes as cover. The middle area is where the initial engagements happen as teams gather as much information as they possibly can. The railroad that splits the map has a large number of bushes running alongside it that provides good cover and the occasional route of attack in the village and hill area. Teams should look towards taking fast tanks and artillery as they complement each other on this expansive map.
Alrighty, so welcome into the third map. And as Joe said, it's Prokhorovka. And in the south, in the blue, it's Dignitas, currently 2 maps up to the good, facing off against DeNova, who are literally sitting on what could be a real devastating blow. So, take us into this one so far.
So, Angel Killer splitting up from the majority of his team, going towards the village, which could spell trouble for Team Dignitas. It's a bit of a bold play, but as you can see, the majority of their firepower just going in the standard position, trying to get the scouts out, trying to get that early information. DeNova over towards the train, not the train side, the kind of road surrounded by trees. It's hard to describe that place, but they're doing the standard stuff from the north, just making sure they get the early positions, make sure they know where Team Dignitas is, trying to get some early shots. As you could see Phoenix trying to connect a shell onto that T69, which I think with 268 penetration, he would have been able to A, connect it, and B, penetrate through the turret, which is a bit of a tricky thing when you're considering something like I don't know, an AMX-3090 with 248 millimeters of penetration.
Yeah, and I think Winnie the Pooh's just about clocked on to where Stalker is in that tier 1, so hopefully he'll be eliminated soon. But we are seeing a little bit of a spoiler from one of the players of Dignitas here.
Yeah, he's gone out on a limb. I'll give him that one. Which is something we don't really see from Team Dignitas as much. It's really a mouse sports play, splitting off and seeing if you can just find a way in by yourself and just cause havoc behind enemy lines. But Angel Killer is going to be that one. Probably just looking for the T1s early on. Just if he can find a T1, kill it, give his team that advantage without really losing any HP or giving away that much information, then it's going to be good. But if DeNova clocks onto the fact that he's completely out of position, then they're going to be able to push in. They'll have the 5 damaging tanks against the 4, which will give them a huge advantage, especially if it comes down to a Pershing and a 416, which can just deal insane damage in a short period of time. Then Team Dignitas are in big trouble.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how this one plays out. I'm kind of curious to see how this one evolves, because right now we have seen Phoenix there just landing a little bit of a shot towards Shanish, so he's down to 1-1-3-1. Couple of return fires coming through, nothing really connecting yet towards DeNova. They're sitting fairly pretty. Not actually receiving a shell until right there. We do see Angel Killer popping up. He's been so good at being the hassling player. He did just connect onto Bad News. He's so good at those long-range shots. I'm absolutely loving it. And he stayed completely unbeknown to the DeNova side until that T1 joined him of, I believe it was Stalker. So, nice play. I like it. They're splitting the attention. And I want to see if Dignitas are willing to go off that.
Yeah, let's see. They have the option. That's the nice thing about Team Dignitas. They always have the option. But one little mistake I guess they've made, which DeNova doesn't seem to have clocked on to the fact, is that if you look over towards Team Dignitas, they have 5 autoloaders. DeNova could see that the shots are going into their bushes or trying to connect onto them, so they know the autoloaders have been shooting, so they know they'll have to reload at some point. So they can push in, knowing those tanks are not going to reload, and I think they're going to do that.
Yeah, Rest in Peace is doing certainly just that, as you mentioned, trying to do as best he can in those 1390s, pushing forward towards Gorat, who's only on 300-ish HP, but he's going to split his attention. Shanish is just to the left. He might be able to get in a great position here. He's behind enemy lines, essentially. Everyone else is now moving in. We are seeing Angel Killer making his move from the back as well. Bad News and Phoenix have to push up. They've got to make this count. They've got to get to a safe position, and somewhere in the midst of that is Team Dignitas. Pavel will be the first man to take the target, and there we go. Rest in Peace is going down low, 84 HP. He's split off so far. He's challenging Shanish in that T69. He's got to be going down. 204 damage, dealt 70 HP. My word, Winnie the Pooh might just be able to get him out of this. He does just about, but still the damage continuing on. Bad News and Phoenix now surrounded. Angel Killer coming into full effect, takes out Phoenix. Bad News could be in trouble now. He's only got Winnie the Pooh really to back him up in this situation, and he's not being able to do it. Angel Killer just providing blow after blow. Winnie the Pooh splitting off to face off against Pavel, and at the moment, it looks like Dignitas have executed so damn well, and Winnie the Pooh has nothing to do here. He's getting the shells connecting, but Pavel is in such a better position to make this count, and he's doing just that. 119 left towards towards him. Bad News is on 45 HP. Applewell should be able to finish him off. And well, I've got to say it, Team Dignitas, they looked so good there. I love the splits. I love exactly what they're doing. But there we have it. Actually, Winterpoo's taken Povel fairly low. He might just about get out of this one if he does get that reload up in time. He does do it. Maybe there's a chance. Maybe they can swing this one. Applewell is on the run. Bad News hot on his heels. Angel Killer still on full HP though, bear in mind. These guys are sitting pretty damn good at the moment. Angel Killer is pushing in that 1390. Bad News is going to get rammed out of this one. And Angel Killer just dealing that real damaging blow. But YR left with 2 shells and 3 tanks to find.
How is Garat still alive, sitting on 18 HP? Is actually going to connect that shell. YR scampering out of the MX-3090. He's got Apo and Angel Killer sniping onto him.
Yeah, not the place you want to be right now. You can see those shells landing just behind him. This man is in a world of trouble. The second will connect. That's Angel Killer's getting that left track down and out. And there's the killing blow. And I've got to say it once again, Team Dignitas, they're showing their strength time and time again. I loved Angel Killer's play. He did something similar on Abby. He's done it again. That little bit of a kind of brave, but a well-executed split push there, just to come right around the back, push in, as soon as he knew those 1390s were going to hunt them down.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
that was just unbelievable play. And, you know, the fact that he managed to survive, it was just incredible. But generally, I think DeNova just, once again, short-sighted. Any push they should have made, any push they made, they should have done immediately. As soon as they saw the MX-3090s were shooting, they should have just been straight in there and just pushing. Give it like 10, 15 seconds so the the other team doesn't know you're going to be pushing and they will be reloading. But push in anyway, especially since you know Angel Killer's out of position. And then you would have dealt with the MX-3090s, which at the end of the day actually destroyed DeNova completely. But, you know, their whole push was a bit strange. They kind of... like, the whole of Team Dignitas was like in a circle, and DeNova just drove straight into it. They should have come around from behind with the 416. He's got the speed, or just gone and just ran and deal with, you know, with Angel Killer.
Yeah, they tried to ignore him, and it's like, why are you ignoring that fact?
Because he came from behind at the end. Yeah,
you've got to deal with these things, and it may be a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes to put your strategy aside and then go, okay, we've got to deal with what's coming towards us right now, and then focus back towards it. The likes of WoT Pro do that so well. They're able to adapt on the fly and go, okay, well, our execution's kind of been stopped here, but we can still, if we change this little maneuver, if we kind of take on that one player, we can get back to our kind of tracks and get back to our game. But right then, DeNova did not have a reply at all.
Didn't have anything in the answer book, which was a real shame, because now they're 3-0 down, losing on Abby, Himmelsdorf, and now Prokhorovka. Moving on to Ensk, and tank picking has begun, so we can jump straight into that with a double T1 coming out from DeNova. But if we can jump into tank picking,
it'd be nice to see that.
It would be very nice.
There you go.
Thank you very much. So we got an AMX-5100, a T1 from DeNova, double T1 from Team Dignitas, and the 5100 and the T1. But just got to remind you that now DeNova 3-0 down. They can come back 3-2, which will obviously, sitting in that third position, help them if they are sitting down towards 6th at the end of the season and looking, you know, to try and beat off another team who's also near 6th, 7th. In terms of the wins, you've got to always win against the good teams, regardless if you don't win the series. So let's say DeNova wins the next 2 maps. That's still going to help them a great deal, as well as practice, which is always good. The double 5100 coming out from Team Dignitas, double IS3 from DeNova, double IS3 from Team Dignitas. Positive coming up for Arclit. Actually, I think he's going down. He's being replaced for Ostat Bender this time. And now just waiting for that last pick from DeNova, which will be the MX-5100. Not going for anything unusual like a Pershing or a 110 or a 416 like we've seen before from them and some other teams as well. Now just looking for the last pick from Team Dignitas. Believe probably going to be, I think, an IS3. I think that's going to be a good shout for them because they've only got 2 and they're usually going to take 3 on Ensk.
Now let's look back towards the other city map that we saw today, Himmelsdorf. That was Dignitas all over. DeNova kind of messed up a little bit of the execution, got a little bit tunnel visioned. Do you think they might learn and try and adapt here on Ensk?
Yeah, I think they definitely have a chance. But that's the map they had to win, Himmelsdorf. And I think that's, if they had won that, it would have given them very good standing going forwards, and they could have certainly won the other maps. Or at least, if they won that, then they could also win on Ensk, which is another map they're strong on. But the last pick from Team Dignitas is going to be the AMX-5100 as well, making a double AMX-5100 triple. Well, is that an AMX-3090? I'm not sure if that's actually picked wrong, because I can't see an AMX-3090 in the lineups. I think he's the wrong pick. But I think it's going to be double IS3, triple AMX 5100, double T1 for DeNova, and the same coming out from Team Dignitas.
So, where's your money on this one?
I'm going to have to give it to DeNova because they're 3-0 down and they're my favourite team and they're just upsetting me now.
Yeah, the heartbreak. It's a bit of a sad sight to see. Obviously, we do like it when DeNova do step up. They've brought out some great tactics before. They've really introduced some new tanks, but today has not been their day. But anyway, let's get into that fourth map. It will be Ensk.
Ensk is a simple map on the face of it, but requires the most skillful team play to play properly. Being such a small map at 600 by 600 meters, the areas of attack are confined to through the city, through the railroads, or through the green zone. The fearsome city side, often famed for its fierce firefights, the railroads and green zone areas are hard to play as they have many death alleys. The railroads provide little cover but good sniping locations. Tanks can shoot over and navigate through the trains to ambush and weaken the opposition. When playing Ensk, always keep in mind that teams may try and rush for the cap and not go for the city brawl. Also, take tanks that can both deal a lot of damage and react quickly to situations.
Alrighty, let's get the show on the road. As the game did just tell us, in the north, it is DeNova currently trailing 3 maps. It's not looking good for pride's sake alone. They've got to pick this one up. And in the south, it's Team Dignitas currently sitting very good at the very top.
Yeah, Team Dignitas, very 3-0 ahead. It doesn't really get much better than that, and that'll give some confidence. They're going to go for that green zone tactic, at least head towards there. Arclit sit in the IS3, as well as Garat in the background. Angel Killer towards that village, and Applewell sitting in the base as well. But Arclit will get punished straight away with a good shot for Winnie the Pooh in his IS3, taking him down to 1159. So advantaged, but a small one, into DeNova's favor, and they are sitting in that village with a couple of tanks. It's pretty much a standard tactic for them, apart from that 5100, which has gone all the way to A0. And a T1 there to back it up as well. So a spread of tanks, but a pretty standard tactic.
Yeah, normal stuff coming out. Arclit still kept in his place. It's Winnie the Pooh mostly there challenging him as best he can once we get over to that. See Winnie the Pooh in that IS3, just keeping eyes right down towards that railroad. He's been exchanging with them for quite some time. Garat is joining in with the damage being received as well. So both fairly large tanks. Both IS3s have been on the receiving end of Winnie the Pooh's barrel. And, well, got to say, it's not a bad start.
No, not a bad start at all. But, again, if you're going to get any tank damage, then you might as well get the IS3 damage because it has got 1.5k health, which is a fair amount, to be fair. Garat takes another one. I think if you take 2 shells, then maybe that health is still going to be, not quite enough. He's down to 773, so pretty much half. That's the BL9 122mm coming into full effect. Bad News getting unlucky there, only hitting the tracks of Arclit. But at the moment, you can see the heavy tank skill, which is unquestionable, really coming good for DeNova at the end of the day. And this is exactly the start they needed on Himmelsdorf. This is the start they needed on Abbey. This is the start they needed on Prokhorovka. Just working Team Dignitas down, so when they push in, or Team Dignitas push in, they can win that essential firefight.
Yeah, and as you said, the IS3s for DeNova really coming up trumps. Bad News doing well, Winnie the Pooh doing extremely well. They've managed to at least damage and do, some sort of initial, or at least claim the initial advantage by hitting Applewell. They've got Garat, they've got Arclit, and they haven't received a single fleck of damage yet. So, got to say it, well played so far from the IS3s there, just keeping eyes down that 5 and 6 line. We're just going to wait to see who's going to make that move now. Obviously, Dignitas are on the back foot HP-wise, but being up 3 maps, you can kind of risk that one. However, Angel Killer has been spotted making his way over towards that green zone, but I do believe the player who spit off there a little bit earlier, which is Phoenix, has going to have to back away a touch here. You can see the fire now coming in. He's going to get out of there. Does not want to be hanging around in that situation. And in the meantime, Winnie the Pooh still exchanging with Arclit and Bad News, but DeNova seem to have the upper hand. How can they execute from here?
They just have to keep on working Team Dignitas down, and already they've worked them down to a point where they can definitely push in. But Phoenix, obviously being out on a limb, doesn't really want to push on his own. I think that's the worst thing they can do. Come up against Applewell and Angel Killer in their 5100s and just get himself completely obliterated. Honestly, that would put Team Dignitas firmly back into the driving seat despite the damage they've taken. And you can see DeNova starting to push forwards. They're going to come from a rather distracted Team Dignitas. Like, most of their tanks are looking towards Bad News. He's really got them tunnel visioned. and the rest of them are sitting towards that village. But Stalker is going to spot out Ostat Men in that T1. He's obviously, those two are just responsible for the initial spot, and Ostat Men is just responsible for the initial spot pushing in. So that's going to be the first order of business for DeNova to take down Stalker, and that's obviously going to be Ostat Men in charge of that. Povel's going to now rejoin Stalker from behind. He knows very well, and so does Team Dignitas know very well, the fact that DeNova are probably going to push in. It is Stalker, though, definitely to come out the better one there, killing Ostat Men in the T1. So DeNova definitely in a worse position in terms of pushing. They're not going to be able to push in unannounced.
Yeah, indeed. Their presence has been truly found. But the T1 exchange going through, as you mentioned, Stepbender being down, as is Stalker. But I want to see the reply now coming in from Team Dignitas, because they've got to make something count. They know that there's a push kind of coming in. You can see the heavy tanks in the bottom of your screen, making their move around towards back to that city area rather than the green zone. And the rest of the firepower for DeNova is obviously towards it. Why are there? He's going to be backing away a touch at least. Rest in peace, and Ron. But do you think they're going to go for this one?
They very might will, and I think Team Dignitas, although they had an opportunity to push against Bad News because he is completely alone, okay, there's a 5100 there, but if they go against like 3 against 2, then they certainly come out better. But Povel's found Wire, he's going to push in.
Indeed, Povel is going to be making the move. Wild's already gone down low, 669, 407. Weatherpool's found Arclit, so they are going to be going for this little bit of an exchange. Flag is being capped, so finally DeNova are taking a little bit of the initiative here, but look at Garat immediately coming round onto Winnie the Pooh, takes him down to 661. Rest in Peace was not there. Winnie the Pooh's being punished by the lack of cover coming in from the rest of DeNova. Rest in Peace does receive a shell, gets one back on towards Garat. Applewell comes in strong as you imagined he would. Bad News pushed up, Garat now being focused out. He's going to have to get this one down. They're going to have to actually start taking out Dignitas, because at the moment they're just doing damage and staying alive. Finally, Phoenix does take down Arclit, but that was a long wait there. So hopefully Rest in Peace can now do something. He's got Angel to his left, Garat to the right, and they are working him down one by one. Povel comes around to join in the fun. He's eliminated him, but this is not looking good for DeNova. They had the positions, they had the HP advantage, but right now Dignitas are just smashing them to the ground.
Look at Bad News, only on 505. The sole man remaining for Team Dignitas. He's got the weight on the shoulders, and I think he's just going to go and get himself killed, because Garat is sitting there. He has the reload, does actually connect 1369, leaving Bad News on 136. But he's going to do the best he can to make something of this. He's going to prove himself as a player despite being hugely down at this point. And once again, Team Dignitas showing that despite being at disadvantage, they can easily come back and just pull it from the brink. And that's really what shows from a good team, you know, being in a bad situation, but turning it to the good. And it's just fantastic.
Yeah, Team Dignitas there, they really did that in every single way. Even though the likes of DeNova did get that initial advantage down that 5 and 6 line, they got the damage, they got the HP there. And then they started to, you know, mount the attack. They actually got, you know, fairly good presence within the city. They just didn't know what to do with the execution. They went, you know, into the one-on-one situations, and they just lost. The team play from Dignitas then, you were never challenging one member of Dignitas. There was always another covering off. There was that, you know, really far back fire from Angel Killer again. Applewell just being so spot on. Garat the same. It's so hard to pin down what's good with these guys, because every single member becomes so important. Yeah,
and it's what you mentioned, it the most important fact. You know, if they have one tank there, there's always another one there to back it up. I think that's
Garat, 2.8k damage.
Insane. I said he would be like one of the best players on city maps, and he just proves that point. So at the end of the day, Team Dignitas always has a reply. They always have a team member backing the other one up, always have the line of fire. And I think also DeNova missed a little bit of a trick. They shouldn't have kind of split up a little bit. You know, YR kind of just drove into the middle of everything. And that's really what started, you know, he just went downhill.
Yeah, it really did just tumble.
YR was just taken to like 300 health for no reason. And then from there on out, it was just bad. And I think, honestly, DeNova just push into the city, do as much damage as they can. Okay, they would have been spotted by Stalker, but that doesn't really matter. If they have the advantage and they know the rest of Team Dignitas is towards that green side, push in, do as much damage as you can, get out, let your 5100 reload, and keep your IS-3s in a defensive position so they can deal with the rest of the tanks attacking them. Use that BL 922mm just to do that insane alpha and just continue playing it from there. I think missed the trick, but DeNova definitely once again showing that they're so close. They're on the cusp of winning. It's really insane. I just don't know why they can't quite make it.
They keep doing like 50% of what they need to do. And then that last final bit just isn't quite there yet. And that last final bit is always so perfect for Dignitas.
Yeah.
It's always so perfect for WoT Pro. When you watch them playing, you barely notice it. But then you go, oh, wait, when they're playing against someone else, you're like, wow, they always execute. They always have that backup plan. They always have that T1 ready to go. There's always that one thing, that little bit of a fallback plan that just comes into effect. So, guys, we're ready for the tank picks now in the final map. So let's look towards this. What do you think we're going to get here on steps?
Yeah, so it's another open map. We saw Prokhorovka being one, probably the easiest by Team Dignitas. It's out of all the maps, I would say that's the one they dominated most on. So steps is going to be a tall order for DeNova to win, but they don't want to go 5-0 down. I mean, it's already 4-0. If they go 5-0 down against a team they're definitely capable of winning against, then it's just horrible for them.
The sad thing is here, in the last season, DeNova always at least picked up one map.
Exactly.
If not two. They did manage two at one point as well. So even though, you know, they've improved, you've seen Dignitas now just getting even stronger.
Yeah, they just keep on getting better. That's the scary thing. You know, they are the best team in the world, according to the last international tournament, where they actually ended up being both Na'Vi, also Red Rush Unity. The only team they lost against was WoT Pro, and WoT Pro lost against Na'Vi. So it's kind of hard to even think of which one's the best team. I guess it's just the different play styles of the teams kind of affecting the other. So it's always going to be a hard one for Team Dignitas to prove that they're the best team in the world. But I honestly think they are. And that's why DeNova are just getting completely crumpled. They're not a bad team either.
I've got to say it, DeNova are going for the 4-1-6 here.
Yeah, I guess that's really because they've been watching the Russians play, to be honest. I mean, okay, the rest of the picks have been AMX 3090s and T69s as per usual. But we saw in the Russian Golden League finals, we saw T32 and 4-4-1-6s coming out from Na'Vi against Red Rush Unity. So that is the kind of lineup which has really been evolved out of the AMX 3090 and the T69s. Like, okay, we have this insane tank, but it doesn't quite have the aim down time and the accuracy you want. What can we replace it with? Okay, here's this new Russian Tier 8 tank, the 416. Has the aim time, has the accuracy. Okay, it doesn't have an autoloader, but we can just play a different kind of game. And at the end of the day, the 416 is going to be better. So that's probably why it's being picked so much here. So the 416 and the T69 coming up from Dignitas, double 416 from DeNova. Pershing is the last pick from Dignitas. 416 is the last from DeNova.
How many 4-1-6s do DeNova want to run right now?
I mean, 416 is a lot of numbers for me. The MX 3090 already pushes it, but the 416, when you put so many numbers together, it just boggles my mind. But Team Dignitas have just taken one and a Pershing. DeNova has taken, pretty standard. DeNova's taken 3, and the rest of the MX 3090s.
Even Shanish saying 4-1-6 equals Imber. So they're running with it, but they have to face off against 3 of them now. So good luck to them. But guys, let's get our eyes set towards the final map, which will be Steps.
Steps is the other open map in the map pool, being 1,000 by 1,000, having no urban areas. There are 3 primary routes of attack: the trench, the rocky area to the left, and the middle road. The road offers direct routes to the enemy's base, but despite having a staggering amount of cover along the way, you are vulnerable to attack from all sides. The trench area provides for great engagements as it's only a few hills and rocks to cover the teams. Most of the engagements occur around this rock, the winner of which gains a crucial foothold on the map. The rocky left area provides the most cover for attacking and defending teams. It's essential that you pick tanks that can traverse from one side of the map to the other rapidly. They also must be able to get to the various key locations as quickly as possible. That is the key to victory.
Alrighty, guys, so welcome into the 5th and final map. As Joe said, it will be Steps, and, well, let's hope DeNova can do something here, because right now they are trailing 4 maps behind to Dignitas. So, what are we seeing so far?
But they have got the 3 4-1-6s. That is important to keep in mind. Team Dignitas doing the standard tactic from the south that's pushing the majority of their firepower over towards that rocky side. That's Applewell, Arclit, Shanish, Positive, Povel, and finally Angel Killer playing the Pershing. So they're going to be doing what we expect them to be doing. And DeNova are kind of doing the same, but they're kind of staying most of their tanks are sitting back in their base. That is the Pershing and the T1. So they're doing what we'd expect. The rest of their firepower towards the trench side. The T1 wants to try and get the early spots on, and the MX 3090 is just there, kind of staying back, ready to penetrate into the base of Team Dignitas.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time in a long time we've actually seen a normal start to this map. Normally it's like that mad exchange down from that 7-0 line, but we actually are seeing Dignitas kind of mounting the attack here, and all the while, DeNova are completely moving away from the area.
Yeah, they've almost got sixth sense there. They know that Team Dignitas is coming up for some reason, and they're just going to push away. Obviously, this is Steps, which is not really a map you can cap on, because you're just going to be sitting in the middle of the field for probably about a minute and a half, which is just obviously not going to work. Especially when you consider the fact that DeNova's got 3 4-1-6s, which is a fantastic sniping tank with a superstructure going forwards, and you got the main bulk of the tank, the turret, the part that weighs the most, sitting on the back, which gives great stability, and that's the reason why it's got really good accuracy. The MX 3090's got a similar configuration, but because it's so light and it's got such a big gun, the 90mm, the F3, it kind of rocks the tank as it shoots, so it's going to be inaccurate, full stop. But DeNova now pushing most of their tanks over to the trench, going further up. Most of the MX 3090, since they are the faster tank, as well as a 4-1-6 there. And they're just going to be trying to find a way into the cap of Team Dignitas. If they get behind, they find, let's say, a T69, they take that one out so it can't have that burst damage from the T178, and then just move on, just go through. Don't worry about the MX 3090s, move on to the 4-1-6. Leave the MX 3090s for last because they have the 33-second reload, and then you pretty much got the game in hand.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a blind shot battle at the moment. Apowwow is the only one really from Dignitas to push forward. He's probably just caught a glimpse of Bad News and Ostep Bender, the two players who are playing fairly defensive, the T1 and one of the very many 4-1-6s. So at least, you know, Dignitas are now working out where DeNova are, and the blind shots have been going back and forth here. Do you think, you know, that's enough information yet for Dignitas to make a move? I
think it's enough information to do almost make a move. They need to have a T1 just to make 100% sure. And this is Steps. You can sacrifice a T1, no problem. You can sacrifice 2 T1s if you have to. There's really no chance they're going to have that much influence on the map. I'm sure they'll do it. They will now because I said it, but usually they don't have it. And you can see Team Dignitas starting to push forwards with quite a lot of their tanks. They're just spotting out Bad News in that 4-1-6. But they don't want to commit too much, because if they do, then you can see the rest of DeNova really close to their cap. So if Team Dignitas commits, DeNova can surround them with the not the auto-loading tanks, just the normal shooting tanks. Keep them distracted. Then DeNova can come in from behind, or they can go for the cap. Now they killed Stalker, and that will just spell Bad News.
Well, we're going to find out pretty damn soon, because Dignitas, as you mentioned, are making their move. Phoenix and Bad News are the two really defensive players currently. Phoenix did start playing that defensive posture not too long ago. Shanish and Povl now popping up, making their presence known. You can see the cap is now underway, and this is actually for DeNova, not Dignitas yet. DeNova are actually kind of running this one at the moment, but they are making their aggressive move towards the remainder of DeNova. Bad News and Phoenix are trying to get out of there, but Shanish and Povl are hot on their heels.
They're going to really try and focus them down. They know they have the 4-1-6s. They know they won't be able to deal the burst damage, and Povl, 1,440 he can do, which will be absolutely disastrous, as the 4-1-6 has 1,200 HP. So all he has to do is make sure that one of his 240 average make sure it connects, or it doesn't connect, depends which way you look at it. But yeah, the pressure is on for DeNova at this point.
Yeah, but look at this. YR already waiting to be that defensive player to hopefully catch Arclit out. Ron is the player in that little camp, but you are seeing the Winnie the Pooh's in trouble. YR's getting the damage towards Arclit, but I've got to go back over to those massive tanks right now, because Phoenix is in trouble. He's got a good connection towards Povl, but immediately Angel Killer gets us straight in there with that Pershing, running past him. 83 HP left towards Phoenix. Angel's going straight towards the rest of the players like Bad News, because he's been eliminated so quickly. Bad News now getting at least a bit of fire towards Povl, down to 136. Angel Killer still pushing forward. That Pershing is so damn good at this, just getting right into their faces. The cap has been stopped. The T1 and that 1390 will be eliminated momentarily. The focus of the fight is going to be between these guys here. Right, finally, Winnie the Pooh gets in towards Angel Killer. Bad News is not landing the shells he needs to. Angel Killer is, however. Winnie the Pooh is going low. 229. I can't speak, but Angel Killer finally gets at least one shell back towards him, and you can see the Dignitas are just taking them down one by one. Povl and Angel Killer now with just Bad News in their sights. Shanish is not letting them get all the glory. He's going to get right in there at T69, holding him in place with a massive ram. They're taking him down to 154, and well, this is pretty much game over. Bad News cannot get out of this one. He might take down Povl, but Povl shows him how it's done, and we are seeing Dignitas keeping that clean slate here, 5-0. Congratulations, guys. You just absolutely nailed that map in a bit of an unusual form. They took down 3 4-1-6s, and they did it pretty damn well.
Yeah, and the 4-1-6s didn't have a chance to get in the game. One did 448, one did 659. Okay.
Not ideal.
Bad News did pretty much 1.5k, sitting on 1,496. But compared to, let's say, Shanish or Angel Killer, who did 1.7k in the T69 and the Pershing, that's pretty much tuppence. That's not really that much.
Yeah, that's not making much of an impact. So Dignitas are looking good to keep that kind of very pretty scoreline. I think they were on, like, was it 6-1 or 7-1 to this point? Now it's 8-1. They're looking like the new Virtus Pro from last season when Virtus Pro were almost undefeated. So Dignitas are looking pretty hungry this time around.
And the fact that DeNova is such a good team and they just got stomped 5-0 really shows the caliber of Team Dignitas. They're going to another level. We thought Team Dignitas being Virtus Pro at DreamHack was like a one-off result.
Yeah.
We never expected them to come first. We always thought Virtus Pro with 21 wins to 1 loss in the group stages would just completely fly through the competition.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, wow, this is Team Dignitas. They're a good team, top 3, but they're never going to be able to win. They won it, and they just continue. It's a real shame they didn't turn up Gamescom, but for Season 3, they're looking like the favourite.
They've got to be there. And the thing to bear in mind was the DeNova were in 3rd, and they got made to look like complete trash. And hell, Dignitas did that against Virtus Pro as well. So it's not like it's a one-off occurrence. Dignitas are looking extremely good this season. I think Virtus Pro have truly met their match here. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen later on this season. But with that game in mind, let's hand over to your thoughts about this one as well, because I don't think we predicted a 5-0 because it's the 1st and the 3rd position going head-to-head. You'd think it'd be like a 3-2, as you predicted, maybe a 4-1 if you're lucky, but not a 5-0. I'd be very surprised to see if any of you got that one right. So let's pass you over to the social media guru herself. Melly, how are the predictions going over there?
Well, Pansy, we had indeed some people guessing the exact right outcome of the match.
No faith in DeNova.
No, but most of the community were clearly on your page and expected a much closer ending of the match. It was insane what happened right now. So, and the vote itself, it started out with 90% points for Team Dignitas and raised every map for 1% point. So, regarding what vote, it was pretty clear, but the comments said different. So that's.
We didn't. I mean, DeNova just 5-0.
How do you predict that?
So it was a 95% chance on the poll that Team Dignitas were going to win.
Exactly.
I feel sorry for that one guy.
No, it was 3 guys.
3 guys. All right.
Oh, wow. I'm
so
sorry.
very
you, man.
tiny
You're in my
part of
heart.
the community.
You're in my heart for going for DeNova.
Indeed, you led these people astray. You were like,
I know.
yeah, DeNova have got this one. I'm voting for them. They've got great results. And you kind of drew them into this. You owe them bonus codes is all I'm saying.
I haven't got any bonus codes.
Well,
damn it. I want
how it
bonus
is.
codes.
Well,
I've got 18 gold on my account.
Ooh.
18 gold.
And I'm
Watch
reading
out.
the Twitch chat right now, and people are... Team Dignitas is on a rage. They're just
They're on
demolishing
fire.
everything that comes somehow close to their tanks. So, yeah, it's... I think nobody expected that.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to call that one. I don't think any of us thought it'd be a 5-0. Apparently you guys at home clearly did, and you didn't believe in him. The 3 of you who did, I'm so sorry. I'll try and get someone a little bit more reputable next time to sit next to me to make these predictions, because you're just setting them up, and that's just cruel. Deep down, you're just getting all the votes in, and on fake accounts like, yeah, Dignitas, let's just try and get this one in my favor. It's just mean.
You've discovered my evil plan. How dare you?
All this time, I finally found it out. But anyway, guys, let's get our eyes towards our next game, which will be coming up after the break. We've seen the very tip top of the league, but let's get our eyes towards the contender towards the throne. It's Virtus Pro, the team who are so close last season to completely going for a clean sweep. Pretty much, they barely lost any games. This time around, they've already got 2 losses beside them, 6 wins, however, so not too bad for themselves. Facing off against the community favourites, Kazna Crew. So guys, don't go anywhere. It's going to be incredible. Hopefully, we'll see you after the break.